All right. Well, thanks for coming on to the show today, Pete. Thanks for agreeing and making time. You're actually the first person I've ever kind of interviewed one-on-one. So thanks for helping me set up Zoom and figure out actually how to do a recording. It's the first time I've ever had to do that. So yeah, big thanks, big shout out, and just a quick check-in. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm glad I could help you out there as well. It's quite a daunting process, like setting it all up and getting it all working. But once you have it working, I'm sure there'll be many more interviews coming on your channel.
All right, thank you. Yeah, it's hard. It's a lot easier to do it with when Jay Crypto helps me out, but just my cat paws, with the keyboard. When I'm running solo, I just keep smashing that keyboard. It's taking me forever.
I still can't believe I'm talking to a cat, but yeah, this is great.
All right. So I think what we want to do in our interview today is I'd love to tell more people about you and about kind of your journey in Cardano and how you've discovered Cardano and kind of what gets you excited about Cardano overall. And then I think in the second half, I'd love to learn more about this really cool project you were telling me about in Twitter, something I'm actually really interested in using maybe for an NFT project I'm doing. And so I'd love to dive into the details of Cardano Press in the second half of the chat today. But to get us started, I'd love to maybe just hear about, is Cardano your first crypto, and if it was or wasn't, how did you discover Cardano?
So my crypto journey started back in 2017. So late, I think September of 2017, one of my friends dragged me in and said, "Hey, Pete, check out this crypto thing and how much money I just made overnight." I was like, "Right, okay, this is interesting. Explain more." And I did hear about Bitcoin like back in 2013 when I first set up my Coinbase account. But the whole KYC process, I really didn't trust it back then. So I missed out on some major gains there. But in 2017, I was hooked, sold. Like this mate of mine dragged me in, kicking and screaming, and I bought my first Bitcoin and Ethereum back then.
Oh wow!
And and from there, I think it all went through ICO phases, and I've bought in on so many ICOs back then. And I think I lost a lot of money too.
Oh,
so
wow.
it's a big learning experience for everyone.
Yep. And so 2017, that's interesting because I know like in the early Cardano days, like it started really low, 1 cent, 2 cent, and I think it went up to $1.50 and came down, right? And then it was kind of low for a little while. Did you ride that roller coaster as well, or did you join Cardano a little bit after? You did? Oh no.
I did watch that roller coaster ride. So one of my another friend here in the WordPress meetup in the WordPress space put me onto it. He sent me the white paper to have a look over. So it's the initial white paper. This is before the ICO. This is vague recollections. But he sent me the details. I had a look over it and I bought in. I didn't buy much because I was spreading all my fiat currency across all these different projects. But I managed to buy in. I think it was at around 3 cents, 3 cents USD. But I didn't buy much, but my other friends did, and we all watched that ride, that big peak up over the Christmas break and into early January, and some cashed out right at the very top, which was very fortunate for them. I didn't, unfortunately. I thought it would go higher. Everyone was screaming, "Yes, it's going to go higher. Bitcoin's going to go to." I think like 40,000 or something. I can't remember back then.
Even back then, wow.
Yeah. Well, it's at 39,000 now. but so I rode through that big crypto boom back in 2017, held on to everything, and then watched everything crash afterwards throughout 2018, 2019. And I essentially held out through that entire crypto winter and didn't look at crypto again until late 2020. So when everything was picking up again. So it was a big hiatus in between. But fortunately, I had some exposure to Cardano early in 2017 and then started looking into it again in late 2020.
Well, that's interesting, actually, because I was overseas, and so I wasn't involved in crypto at all until late 2020. It was actually like November, December 2020 when I first said, "All right, let's figure what this whole thing is about." And so that's right when you were coming back to it. after kind of getting in much earlier and taking a hiatus. So you rode Cardano over that Christmas break, you were saying, and didn't sell any. So to me, that screams of conviction. So you for some reason you must have saw something in Cardano. I'd love to hear from you, like compared to Bitcoin and Ethereum and some of these other layer ones that you had exposure to. How does Cardano stand out? And I feel like you're certainly today you're more involved with Cardano. Why is it special from the others?
Well, I'll probably clarify there. It's there's conviction and then there's stupidity, and I think I'm lying more so on the stupidity side. I just held through because I didn't want to hold, I didn't want to sell at a loss really, and I didn't really know much or understand much about the projects back then. So I knew about smart contracts, what it was capable of, et cetera, et cetera. So Ethereum was absolutely blooming at that stage. And then coming through 2020, the DeFi summer came through, and a lot more utility came out in the Ethereum space. But coming back into the ecosystem in late 2020, I was looking at all the L1s and what had happened since 2017. And investigating them all, seeing Solana pick up, seeing all these other chains. Cardano for me was the most appealing because of its research-based development. The white papers were all peer-reviewed. Yep. It wasn't a fork of something that was already existing, which really annoyed me. Why fork it when you contribute directly back to the project? It's all open source and we can all grow together. But Cardano appealed to me the most. And then next, the barrier to entry to actually get into and be involved in the ecosystem was very, very low. So being able to step in and mine, essentially, I was looking for ways to mine, but earn the cryptocurrency instead of just buying, selling, and trading was really appealing. The whole 2017, like buying, selling, day trading is not for me. I'm not a trader. I learned the hard way. And I want to earn crypto. So either from mining Ethereum, mining Ergo, whatever it is, or setting up a stake pool. And that was so much more appealing to me.
Oh, wow. Just hearing you talk, there's so many paths we could go down. Like I played around with Ethereum and Ergo mining and a little bit of that on my PC, but I think we might need 3 hours for the interview if we get into some of that. But I love what you said about you admired Cardano's research-based approach. And, I think we've heard others say, the slow way is the fast way, kind of measure twice, cut once. These are all the things that I love about Cardano as well. So that really resonated with me. And, you hear about startups trying to move fast and break things. And I think, some of the other layer ones are moving very, very fast, but then they have to kind of shut down sometimes to catch up. And I love that Cardano is kind of more slow and more kind of thoughtful, I would say. Okay, very good. And then, so in December, kind of November, December 2020, you're coming back into Cardano, and I understand that you're a Cardano ambassador. And so were they still looking for ambassadors then? And I actually think they might still be looking for ambassadors now. Maybe, how did you discover the ambassador program, and what does it mean to be a Cardano ambassador?
So I discovered it through Maria Camo. So she was an ambassador in, I think, for most of 2020, 2021. And I stepped into the role, I think, mid-2021. It's hard to remember these dates now. But the ambassadors essentially are cheerleaders for the blockchain. They create content for it specifically around what's happening in the ecosystem, or moderate and translate content that's around and on forums or on Facebook groups, whatever it might be, or on Reddit. And then the last ones are meetup organizers. So that's what I do a lot of. So they provide and help with a little bit of the organization around there, so that people can actually organize these meetups, get-togethers happening, and build a little community around Cardano specifically. So that's what the ambassador's role is essentially, and they are looking for more and onboarding more, because the ecosystem continuously changes. There's people moving in, people moving out, and now there's also Twitter Spaces and different types of content creators, something that didn't exist last year. So opening that up for more and new, unique types of content is pretty cool, and I think it's a really good initiative.
That's cool. I love that they're still looking for more. And I was looking at this afternoon. It looks like if you go to cardano.org/ambassadors, I think that's the official ambassadors page. But if you know there's a better place where we could tell people to go, feel free to let them know. But I think that's the one, cardano.org/ambassadors, if anyone's interested. And so, are you a bit of a regional ambassador then, kind of the Australian ambassador, or have they not delegated specific regions to different ambassadors?
Yeah, well, first off, that is the right website to go to. But no, there isn't really specific regional delegations or anything. Most of the people that work through the roles, such as translators, they might be translating something from English to Portuguese or English to Spanish. So that's pretty much global. Like it's anywhere that there's languages spoken. As for me, I like to focus purely on the regional area here because it's just where I am. There's a lot of people in Australia that are holding ADA and absolutely love Cardano as well. So I like to nurture and grow that little community, which is actually quite large. So I just got to get them out of their homes and into the meetups so they can actually participate with the ecosystem, network, engage, and learn what else is happening rather than just staking their ADA and just living off rewards, for example. So I'm really excited about growing that community, having more events, having like the big summit events as well, which we had last year as well, which is absolutely amazing. But I want to have that bigger and have the support of the Cardano Foundation to actually do that too.
So cool. And so I was actually looking, it looked like you had a meetup pretty recently, right? I think just a few days ago in Sydney, I believe. And is that right? And if people want, if people listening are in Australia and or Sydney and somehow they haven't heard about these meetups, where can we send them if they want to know when the next one is happening? Where's a good place for people to go to?
So if you go to meetup.com and type in Cardano, you should see the main pro account for the Cardano Foundation. And from there, just sign up, and I'm slowly getting access and control over most of those. And then I can corral the community to actually start organising themselves and doing all those meetups. So at the moment, I'm in Brisbane in Australia. So the regular meetups there happen every single month. So we had a bit of a COVID issue, so that's happened everywhere. So we had to slow down a little bit. But I think since mid last year, we had one every single month. Over the December Christmas break, we took a little bit of a hiatus, but we're back into the swing of things now. And they're getting bigger and even better. And now I'm going to different states. So I'm going to last week was Sydney. Next month is Melbourne as well. So hopefully we can build up that traction and have enough users and enough people in those meetup groups to come to the big summit at the close to the end of the year. So I'm pretty excited to have that happen.
That's so cool. So what will that be called, like the Cardano Australia Summit, or what are some keywords to be looking out for the summit?
It will be the Cardano Summit 2022. So it'll be the big official one that the Cardano Foundation would be organising. So I don't know if you were in the space back then, were you?
So I know there was a Cardano Summit in the fall, like around 8 or 9 months ago. And so that was like the official Cardano Summit. So you're not talking about an Australian Cardano Summit. You're talking about the official Cardano Summit.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So around that time, I think it was mid-September, about a month earlier, they put out calls for people that want to organise it, and I was one of them that was put my hand up, and that's eventually how I became an ambassador as well. But I put my hand up to organise the Brisbane one because we didn't have lockdowns. We had no lockdowns, no mask mandates at that time, so it was easy for us to actually do an event. So I put my hand up, gathered all those resources, had presenters coming in, and put on a pretty nice event. Oh, well, I think it was a pretty nice event.
Well, very, very busy. And it sounds like you're really focused on community engagement, kind of getting people to meet and to connect. And
it's the biggest thing. The community is huge. Like without the community, the crypto communities are the thing that powers each of the chains and each of the projects.
I love that. And I think it brings us back to like the ethos, like even back, way back when it was, Satoshi on those forums. Like there's this kind of big kind of, even in the CryptoPunk kind of scene, this community ethos of helping each other out and connecting and kind of problem solving together. So I like that. That's a beautiful story. In addition to being Cardano ambassador, though, you hinted that you wanted to earn Cardano when you were coming back to it, and I think you have a stake pool as well. Maybe you can tell us, like, how long have you been running a stake pool, and how can we find your stake pool? Where should we go?
So the stake pool is called ADA Australia, or its ticker is ADA Oz. So any of the place where you delegate, you can just type in ADA Oz and you'll be able to find it. We started it in, I think it was the 20th of February 2021, and I have to say it's been a crazy journey running a stake pool, and it's a roller coaster ride. If you're faint of heart and you don't have the stamina to keep powering on every single day when you see delegation leave, it is a hard game to play. So if anyone else is considering starting a stake pool, you either have to have a big following on YouTube or Twitter, have millions of ADA in your pocket already to have that really good, easy kickstart. Otherwise, it's a hard struggle. And I know Timmy, you've started your own stake pool as well. So how's that going for your end?
Yeah, I can relate. It's a hard struggle. Like, in order to make blocks consistently, the stake pool that I run, it still loses money. Like, we're still super small, right? So we're not paying for the servers. We're not making enough to pay for the servers. But it's been really fun because it was the first time I got to play with the Cardano CLI and the Cardano node. And during it didn't take too long to set up, to be honest. Coin Cashew has a beautiful tutorial, and so it took about maybe a week and a half, and I learned so much during that time. And so selfishly, I feel like it's been a great success because I've learned so much. Financially, not so much, but it's only losing maybe $100 a month, USD. So I've really enjoyed that. I think the main thing for me is the delegators. I really want to make sure they're getting the rewards that they deserve, right? And so I'm working hard to try and add utility. It seems like these days you can't just throw up a stake pool. Like, people want free tokens, or they want some other kind of benefit. And so I'm talking to all kinds of projects. I've had the help of some people like Nito and Ritos from Pavia to create some utility. We had this pineapple coin that we gave away, but it's all just kind of small stuff. It's hard to compete with the projects, the dexes that have their own stake pools, but I still would consider it a great success because it was such a great learning. And that's kind of how my journey has been on Cardano. Like, I started the channel in November just to learn how to do 3D animation, and I've had fun doing that. And then the stake pool was just another learning endeavor. And right now we're doing an NFT project because I just want to learn how to do NFTs. We actually created a Timmy NFT so if you delegate to the stake pool for 10 epochs, you get this little animated Timmy. And so that was fun to learn how to mint native tokens and how to do metadata. So my approach is,
that's cool.
It's just about learning, really. And so I've been having a lot of fun.
That's awesome. And I have to agree. The whole learning process was absolutely fantastic for me. Back in, I think it was 2005. Around then, that's when I started my career in web development, and a lot of the stuff I did back then was reverse engineering websites. So I'd see something really cool that was built, and I'd spend all night trying to work out how they did it, and reverse engineering, and then making my own copy of it. And this is without their source code or anything like that. So I absolutely loved that type of experience. And then jumping back into Cardano recently was a very similar experience, digging into how the stake pools worked and optimizing things and getting things working. And then, like you said, playing around the CLI and minting NFTs. It's all a learning process. And I haven't had that drive and excitement in learning something new since way back then in 2005. So it's coming back into the space and then having something exciting like this and geeking out on it essentially has been such a great experience.
That's so true, Pete. That's so true. Like the last time I was learning at this fast of a pace was when I was in university, right? And so
Yeah.
when I play with these stuff, I feel like I'm back in university. I feel young again. You know, every day is a fun challenge, and so it's been incredibly rewarding to kind of get back into this university learning mindset. So
You
yeah.
look like a young cat. What are you talking about?
Well, I'm actually 85 years old, so I'm getting
right.
up there.
Oh, okay.
The Who-man years, the math works kind of funny. So yeah, so I'm getting up there. So I want before we actually, you were just telling us about your web development experience, and I mean, you do a lot of development from what I can tell. I think just before we jump into that, I'd love to ask you about another project that you're an ambassador for. That's Genius Yield, and in fact, we're both ambassadors for this project. And you know, we talked a minute ago about how Cardano is so research driven, and I feel like Genius Yield is the same way, and they're doing a lot of really interesting things if you look at their white paper. And you know, they've got Lars on their team, and there's a lot of reasons why I'm excited for Genius Yield. But maybe I'd love to hear from you. What makes Genius Yield kind of stand out, if it does for you, and what gets you most excited about it?
There's a lot of aspects about it, but I think one of the most important things is its reduction in impermanent loss and how the yield optimizer works on there. So for people that don't know, when you provide liquidity to a DEX, you provide it at a certain price point. So you put in like 1,000 ADA and 1,000 of the other token, whatever it might be. And as time progresses, the price of those two tokens will diverge, and you essentially could be looking at a huge amount of impermanent loss at the point of taking your tokens out. So what Genius Yield does is it can put in your tokens at different buying points, so going up and down the ladder of price differentiation, so that you don't suffer as much permanent loss. You may not get as many rewards as possible because you're splitting your balance across multiple different price points, but it reduces that risk so that you don't end up with a massive amount of loss when you pull all of your liquidity out. So that big thing, that's a really big thing for me, because a lot of people don't understand it, and providing liquidity is a huge risk. So reducing that risk and earning the reward still, I think, is one huge aspect of the DEX and DeFi 2.0 essentially, and I'm really excited about that.
I was hoping that you wouldn't say that one, because that's my favorite reason as well. This concentrated liquidity and reducing impermanent loss. I think this is a game changer. I was doing a little bit of like yield farming on MinSwap even just a couple of weeks ago. When they launched, but I paused it because I was getting a sense of the impermanent loss a little bit, and so I'm really excited to see what Genius Yield does with that. One of the other things I love about it is also like their yield optimizer, this automatic yield optimizer they have. And from what I understand, you're going to be able to set your risk tolerance and say, like, I want really high yield with high risk, or maybe I just want something that's a little bit more safe, a little bit more stable. And for someone like me, I don't have a ton of time to go in and rebalance the APYs every day and like move out of all these different opportunities. And so I love this idea that Genius Yield seems like they're going to have some kind of an autopilot or something where I can kind of put the money into the smart liquidity vault or one of these other things that they have, and it'll auto manage it for me. So I think if they're able to pull that off and bring DeFi to the masses, I think it could be really huge. And they've also got their academy, the Genius Yield Academy, which I'm excited to learn more about, just to kind of spread education about how all this DeFi stuff works.
Yeah, I think the whole education piece is pretty big. Like a lot of new people coming into the space that don't know any of this. They're setting up wallets for the first time, and even setting up a wallet, I think, is pretty daunting. Like you lose your seed phrase, you get it hacked, you save it on a online drive somewhere, and that gets hacked, and you lose all your funds. It's crazy. So educating users coming into the space to learn how to best store their seed phrases is a huge part of it. And then, like you said, the auto compounding and the automated yield optimizer as well. It's a whole nother level. If you're struggling learning how to set up a seed phrase in a wallet and you're expected to then participate in DeFi, it's just too hard. So having all these little mechanisms in there to just make it so much easier. You set up your wallet, point your wallet over here, and optimize your yield returns. Yep. That's it. That's great.
You got it. And I think one more thing quickly about Genius Yield is like from reading their white paper and their videos, this is an order book style DEX, not like an AMM style DEX, and they're actually doing a lot of things that are only possible with the UTXO format that we have on Cardano, the UTXO protocol. And so I think if Genius Yield is successful, it can be a really, really strong statement about why Cardano is so powerful. They're going to be doing some things that are only unlocked because of the EUTXO model. It's how we do our transactions versus the account model. And so, yeah, if Genius Yield is successful, I think Cardano is kind of wrapped into that a little bit. So,
I think so too. A lot of people don't realize this. Like people sitting over on Bancor or any of these other DeFi protocols, they don't realize the potential here yet. Yeah. And we're just really lucky that we're here in this space, and we're playing around with DeFi before any of the big players on these other ecosystems start jumping in. They're getting a hint of it, but I guess we have to break them off the places where they are at the moment to actually move liquidity over. But we'll see.
We'll get there. I'm confident we'll get there. Okay, so let's pivot for a little bit now, and I'd love to talk more about Cardano Press. It kind of blew me away, and the more I look at it, the more I'm like, oh yeah, I need this, especially not just for the Stakepool, but also for potentially an NFT project, and there's a bunch of stuff that I want to jump into here, but maybe you can get us kicked off. What is kind of the summary of Cardano Press? What's the elevator pitch? What is this project?
So Cardano Press is a project that we started to bridge the gap between the old Web 2 space, so Web 2 and Web 3. So the Web 3 space, I feel there's a big barrier to entry. Like you got to learn all these new things. You got to learn how to actually integrate in the Web 3 wallets, such as NAMI or Internal, into a website. But on the other side, there's a lot of people that use WordPress, for example, which is what we do on a daily basis. We build WordPress sites for clients, and it's really easy to use, easy to manage, and all that. So what we want to do is bridge the gap between the two and have that Web3 functionality in WordPress itself. So that opens up a whole lot of new functionality that you could do on any WordPress site by integrating in a wallet. And the wallet then can act as a login system for it. So you can have anonymous logins. You don't need username and passwords. You just click on connect, log into the website, and then you can do permission-based roles based on what's in your wallet. So the website, the NAMI connector will, or the Cardano Press connector will look at what's in your wallet and say, okay, you've got a Timmy NFT, you've delegated to Timmy Pool for 10 epochs. That means we'll give you a special role on the website where you'll be able to access certain content, and you'll be actually able to get to claim the something else on the website. So it unlocks a whole lot of functionality in there. And if you're familiar with WordPress, you can install WooCommerce. You can install a forum post, a forum plugin, and actually integrate that functionality into a Cardano Press as well. So you log in and you only get access to the forum if you delegate it to your Stakepool and things like that. So it's really cool and complex, and people are coming up with some really unique ways of integrating in Cardano Press with their existing WordPress websites.
I absolutely love it. I think one thing that's often been on my mind is like this idea of like identity, like one person, one vote comes up a lot when we're voting on Catalyst and things like that, and this idea of like, how do we know it's one person? When we're doing NFT mints, we want to limit it to like 3 or 5 per person, and people are able to like create multiple wallets in order to like pretend that they're multiple people. But I love this idea of Cardano Press using the wallet as identity, because if it's just login password, it's very easy for me to create like 10 logins and passwords and kind of abuse the site that way. It's a little bit harder for me to have to create 10 different wallets, but then also you've got this ability to look what's in their wallet, and so the combination of an NFT in the wallet as identity without having to do like a Tala Prism or having to give you like personal information, that's super, super powerful. And I love the idea of deploying this on WordPress, which has such like a broad, adoption already. It's kind of like a Trojan horse in a way to like get people exposed to Web3 in a little bit, and they'll see how easy it is, and then they'll branch and start doing more interesting things with Cardano and Web3 in general. It's a brilliant idea, this kind of transitory bridge with Cardano Press. Before we go further, if they wanted to jump over right now, if they wanted to pause this video, where would be the place to go to learn more about Cardano Press?
So currently it's all in a GitHub repository. So it's a little bit hidden, but if you type in GitHub do a Google search, GitHub and Cardano Press, it should come up as the #1 search, or I'm sure you put links to it in your video descriptions down below.
Yep.
But that's the only way at the moment. We haven't officially launched it as a fully supported plugin just yet. But when we do, there'll be a website for it, etc. So you'll be able to get to it from the official channels later.
Okay, beautiful. But are people able to use it now and like play around with it and start doing? Yep. Okay, very cool.
Yep. We have plenty of people using it at the moment, giving it a try, even running their own integrations for on-chain governance as well.
Oh, wow.
So we're building out an extra plugin for that, so that you can go and set up your own governance token and
voting.
do your own voting within the plugin as well, and have it all on the website interface. So if you played around with other platforms like Vi Finance, it's going to be very similar to that. We borrowed some inspiration from it, so that you can log into the website, read how many tokens you have and how many governance tokens, use that as your voting power, and then go through the process where you can vote on different polls on the site. So it's pretty powerful, and other people have started integrating that in already. I don't know how many projects have picked up and played with it, but I know there's quite a few.
And so if it's on GitHub, is it open source? Do you accept pull requests and contributions to the core itself? Yep.
It's totally open source. So there's a core plugin which runs and is totally open source. We have extra products that we're building on top of it, which won't be open source. Be GPL, but we'll be providing a subscription-based model around it to get updates and support. And that includes the voting governance side of things, the ISPO tracker monitoring tools. So for anyone that wants to run their own ISPO through their Stakepool, you can. And then one more, which I can't remember off the top of my head.
Good. I saw something around like a minting page. So are we actually going to be able to use this to mint drops?
So we didn't want to build our entire minting back-end system for this. I did consider it, and maybe we will, but there's a lot of people out there that have built their own, and they just put up like an address on the website, and then you send your ADA to it. So what we did was we just put in a layer that sits on top of that, so that the NAMI wallets, internal wallets, can connect, calculate the transaction for you, and then submit the total amount to that particular minting address.
Okay.
So we've put in like robot captures and wrote the Web3 transactions for you to connect to the wallets, but it still will just send to that minting address. And then from that, you need to control, manage your transactions, your refunds, and everything else in the back end side of things.
Got it. But that's still a big value add. Like on Timmyverse.com right now, I have them like enter in their address or their stake address or their ADA handle, and if they've delegated for 10 epochs or more, it gives them an address where they can send 4 ADA and get the token back. But I don't have any kind of like bot protection or captcha protection in there, and so I guess with your minting page tool, I would get a receive address from one of these other minting programs or just my own, and then put that receive address in there, and then you have UI and basically bot controls to use that address that is got from somewhere else.
Yeah, that's right. We're going through a design and UX process at the moment. So we're going to have like a master theme that you can install onto the site itself, and it will have all the different layouts. We've tested this with different users to try and give you that best experience possible. So, but yeah, it will connect directly to that. And for example, in your use case, you'll connect the wallet. It will see that you're delegated to your particular stake pool and you've delegated for 10 epochs. Then it will give you access to the minting page itself. And then you can click on the minting page, go through, just sign the transaction, type in how many you want. Maybe it's only one, maybe it's two, and then just go through your mint that way. It's pretty quick, pretty easy to do.
That's awesome. So it's called Cardano Press, and we talked about Nami a little bit, but I have the list of wallets here. It looks like you support Flint Wallet, Typhon, Nami, Yoroi, and CC Vault, which is now Eternal. Is Eternal supported? Like, I don't know if they've broken any. Yeah, it is. Okay, and so yeah, that's basically all of them. Are there any other wallets you're still working on adding? I don't even know if there are any other wallets.
Yeah, we integrated in Gero Wallet, or Giro, however you say it.
Yeah.
And when Ray Wallet bring out their website connector for it, DApp connector, then we'll integrate that. So I've heard they're still working on it. It's going to come out soon. But once all those other ones come out, as soon as they come out, we'll support it. Because the plugin only performs certain transactions, such as the sending, the transaction, the delegation process, they're all very similar. So it's quite easy to actually integrate that in. They're not all the same. Similar. We just got to work out how. But it's pretty set use case that we have, and it's easy for us to do.
Very cool. I'm actually really, really excited. I've actually been spending the last 2 weeks building a website for like this other NFT project. But you know, I have to do all this responsiveness and like flex grids and like all the CSS stuff to make it look good on mobile. And it's fun, but I'd rather just have a WordPress theme that I can just turn on. I think you guys said on your site you're working on like a sexy new theme, which sounds really interesting. But I might have to give this another look and see about maybe using this. And, you know, I did PHP, you know, maybe 10 years ago. I'm more of Node.js, kind of MongoDB backend right now. But is PHP pretty good? Like, is it secure? I know like 12 years ago, you know, there were issues, but it's pretty good as a backend. There's no major issues with that right now, as far as you know?
Yeah. It's, as far as I know, it's pretty good. There are security concerns with WordPress itself. We build it in a way. We've been building WordPress plugins for like the last 12 years, so it's
nice.
Hopefully we would have learned something along the way. But you know, it's secure as long as you're using the main ways and main methods that WordPress expects. So you're not writing whole new functions and opening yourself up for vulnerabilities that way. Yeah. So as long as you're using the core functionality within WordPress, you should be usually fine for a lot of those things. The other vulnerabilities where you may see is people installing Cardano Press and then other 50 plugins and not maintaining it. So I wouldn't recommend this for someone that has absolutely no WordPress experience and no WordPress security experience, especially because one of those other plugins could be vulnerable and someone would gain access to your website and they could modify the code within your Cardano Press plugin without you knowing, and as a result have invalid transactions submit through. Luckily with NAMI and all that, your transaction will actually come up before sending it, so you can verify that it's what you're doing.
Spending password, that's right,
Yeah. So you can always check and verify just before you send, but you know, that could happen if your website gets hacked. They can hack Cardano Press, inject extra code or change the variables that are going through when you're doing a transaction on your website, and you know, cause some malicious behavior. So it is a risk, and I wouldn't recommend it for anyone. Core specific people that understand the risk involved in securing a WordPress site.
I think just the first step that gets you 90% there is just change that admin password. No more admin, or, you know, /WP-admin. Like, maybe even just change that if you can. So there's some small things that I think get you a long way with WordPress. So I'm excited.
Most definitely.
I'm definitely going to take a look. So I promised we wouldn't go over an hour, so let's maybe get ready to wrap. And there's kind of one question I wanted to ask, that, kind of in closing, kind of looking more towards the future. And I guess my question is, well, specifically regarding Cardano's future, what makes you the most excited, you know, for the next 12 months? What are you more looking forward to? Are we all going to make it? And if so, why?
The scale, you know, the amount of scaling that's happened already, I think, has been good, and we can see the speed of transactions. Like things are phenomenal at the moment. Mm-hmm. So to see that go to the next level, like is going to be absolutely amazing. Seeing hydro heads go out there, seeing a business utility take advantage of that and have like thousands and thousands of transactions per second going through their internal networks and then pushing it out to the blockchain. That's the kind of future that I love to see. But then also the impact that that will have on various countries and various industries, such as supply chain industries, what will happen with RealFi in Africa as well as these projects start rolling out there and doing some really cool things. So that's the type of future that I'm really looking forward to, having a really fast L1 chain that's, blows the competition out of the water, and then see the impact of that happen in parts of like Africa and slowly move out to like Southeast Asia and other developing nations as well. So I'm really excited to see what Cardano can bring for all that.
Well, I love how interested you are in the kind of the global impact, with RealFi and like the impact that Cardano is having in the world. I think that's one of the things that gets me most excited. But I'm also really excited about reframing the Cardano or like the cryptocurrency dilemma with environment, right? We've got such a bad reputation with how these layer ones like Bitcoin are using so much energy. And I go to Cardano Blockchain Insights and I see that Cardano is 1/45,000th of the energy requirements of compared to Bitcoin. It's just so tiny. And so I can't wait until that message gets out and to let people know crypto's not bad. Crypto's not, poisoning the environment. And when we combine that with some of the projects you talked about and kind of the positive impact we're having, I think it's a beautiful story. We got to get it out there.
Yeah, I think so too. There's alternatives, and Cardano is definitely a really, really good and attractive alternative.
Yep, you said it. Okay, well, once again, big thank you for making time for meeting with me today. Thanks a lot for helping me set things up kind of before we went live. Thanks also for all the amazing work you're doing as a Cardano Ambassador, Genius Yield Ambassador, powering the network with your Stakepool, Cardano Press, and I see you in Twitter all the time and YouTube. You're having tremendous impact, and yeah, I'm just really proud and thankful that I could have you as the first solo interview on the show. So thank you very much for that, Pete.
And thank you for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to a cat for the last hour.
All right.
I still can't get over it.
Meow.